Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. Chapter 8, Part 2. The king laid his hand upon her arm and timidly said, "Consider, my dear, she's only a child." The queen turned angrily away from him and said to the knave, "Turn them over." The knave did so very carefully with one foot. "Get up!" said the queen in a shrill, loud voice, and the three gardeners instantly jumped up and began bowing to the king, the queen, the royal children, and everybody else. "Leave of that!" screamed the queen. "You make me giddy!" And then, turning to the rose tree, she went on, "What have you been doing here?" "May it please your majesty," said two in a very humble tone, going down on one knee as he spoke. "We were trying..." "I see," said the queen, who had meanwhile been examining the roses. "Off with their heads!" And the procession moved on, three of the soldiers remaining behind to execute the unfortunate gardeners, who ran to Alice for protection. "You shan't be beheaded," said Alice, and she put them into a large flower pot that stood near. The three soldiers wandered about for a minute or two, looking for them, and then quietly marched off after the others. "Are their heads off?" shouted the queen. "Their heads are gone, if it please your majesty," the soldiers shouted in reply. "That's right," shouted the queen. "Can you play croquet?" The soldiers were silent and looked at Alice, as the question was evidently meant for her. "Yes," shouted Alice. "Come on then," roared the queen, and Alice joined the procession, wondering very much what would happen next. It's a very fine day," said a timid voice at her side. She was walking by the white rabbit, who was peeping anxiously into her face. "Very," said Alice. "Where's the Duchess?" "Hush, hush," said the rabbit in a low, hurried tone. He looked anxiously over his shoulder as he spoke, and then raised himself upon tiptoe and put his mouth close to her ear and whispered, "She's under sentence of execution." "What for?" said Alice. "Did you say what a pity?" the rabbit asked impatiently. "No, I didn't," said Alice. "I don't think it's at all a pity. I said, what for?" "She boxed the queen's ears," the rabbit began. Alice gave a little scream of laughter. "Oh, hush!" the rabbit whispered in a frightened tone. "The queen will hear you." You see, she came rather late, and the queen said, "Get to your places!" interrupted the queen in a voice of thunder, and people began running about in all directions, tumbling against each other. However, they settled down in a minute or two, and the game began. Alice thought she had never seen such a curious croquet ground in all her life. It was all ridges and furrows. The balls were live hedgehogs, and the mallets live flamingos. And the soldiers had to double themselves up and stand on their hands and feet to make the archers. The chief difficulty Alice found at first was in managing her flamingo. She succeeded in getting its body tucked away comfortably enough under her arm, with its legs hanging down. But generally, as she had got its neck nicely straightened out and was going to give the hedgehog a blow with its head, it would twist itself round and look up in her face with such a puzzled expression that she could not help bursting out laughing. And when she had got its head down, she was going to begin again. It was very provoking to find that the hedgehog had unrolled itself and was in the act of crawling away. Besides all of this, there was generally a ridge or a furrow in the way wherever she wanted to send the hedgehog to. And walking off to other parts of the ground, Alice soon came to the conclusion that this was a very difficult game indeed. Thank you for listening. Until next time, it was me, Mira. Bye-bye. Switch off your telly.